Well, I'm absolutely delighted to say that joining me on the Godcast today is Trevor Steven. Now, Trevor is a former English professional footballer who started his career at my beloved Burnley Football Club, and he became an important part of the successful Everton side of the 1980s. And then he went on to be an perhaps even more significant part of the Rangers' nine in a row side. And then he of course, played for Marseille in France, and we'll be hearing a bit about that in a few moments. But and also 36 caps for his country, so that is some career. Trevor, it's fantastic to welcome you to the Godcast. I believe you're in another part of the world. Where are you today?
I'm in the UAE, about an hour north of Dubai. Yeah, that's where you find me. I've been living here for quite a while, but I have been back to the UK last year. But with lockdown and all these things going on, I came back out here, and but I'm due back in the UK pretty soon.
What's the COVID situation out there? Have they managed to get on top of things there?
Well, I think so. It's not as, let's say, as obvious as far as lockdowns are concerned here. It's a bit more relaxed, and where I am particularly, it's quite a spread out area. It's not like Dubai, which is obviously very built up. So I mean, that's masks. It's what you would expect in that regard, and apart from that, it seems to be under control. But there again, we are on the red list, as far as the UK is concerned, which means we can't take flights. There are no direct flights out of here into the UK, hence why I'm still here, really. So, but the good thing is that the weather's great, but it's going to get too hot. Give it another 4 or 5 weeks here, and it becomes obscenely hot. So hopefully, I'll be back in the UK by then.
Yeah, Trevor, I've got to ask you. Wearing a t-shirt, and all I can see is "I" and a heart. Those who are listening, Trevor's wearing a t-shirt. What's the rest of it? I love.
Well. It could be like I love SG. I love Steven Gerrard, right? Because of my time at Rangers, but it's actually not. I was in Singapore about 2 years ago, and I was coming out of the airport, and I was coming back to the Middle East, and I had a few Singapore dollars in my in my pocket. So I went into this place and I bought a T-shirt for about $5, and this is it. Right, so no expense spared. I love Singapore, So there's nothing more to it than that.
Fair enough. Trevor, I've got to tell you, as a footballer, you were the first footballer that emotionally made me feel quite sad, and that's because you left Burnley, and
right,
because I kind of recall you being Burnley's next big thing. Everybody was raving about the talent that you had and your potential, and of course, Burnley fans wanted you to stay at Turf Moor. But just tell us about those formative days at Burnley, would you, Trevor? Because I don't think it's been heard an awful lot. Who are the people that were behind your career in the early days?
Right. Right. How far do I go back? Because the story with Burnley started when I was about 12, and I hail from the northeast of England, in Berwick-upon-Tweed, on the east coast. So which was not known, for its sporting, certainly not a powerhouse of the sporting world, and didn't really produce people who did that much in sport. But I happened to be in a trial. I mean, in life, you always have somebody who starts you off, and mine was my school teacher, a guy called Wilf Renton, and Wilf was and this was in primary school, and then, funnily enough, I moved to the next school at 11, and he moved as well, which was a bit bizarre. So he went to the middle school. It was back in the days of comprehensive education. So I was just right in the middle of that. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I was he had put me forward for this trial because locally I was a little bit of a star, but we're talking about 6 schools. That's it. So you didn't know actually how good you were, or was it just a fluke or whatever? Anyway, he put me into this trial, and I went down to a place called Gosforth, which is North Newcastle. A lot of boys on a Sunday afternoon. I always found these things intimidating, to be quite honest with you, because I'm a bit shy, but a bit awkward, I think, as well at that age. And but I did know that I could play this game, and that day I went on the field and did well. But I couldn't really judge myself, but I enjoyed myself. And when I was just came off the field, a guy tapped me on the shoulder, and there's a guy called Peter Kirkley. And Peter Kirkley ran Wallsend Boys Club, but he was also the regional scout for Burnley. So Wallsend Boys Club obviously produced professional players along, and had a history of doing that. So Peter invited me. So I went on the school holidays just when I was 12, 13-year-old. And I went down to Burnley for the very first time, took a minibus. I think I got a lift down. My dad might have dropped me in Newcastle, got on the minibus with about 10 other hopefuls. And I just sat in the back of the minibus for about 5 hours. It's a bit of a tricky road in those days, coming down the A1 across the moors.
Still is.
Skipton. Yeah, Ripon, Skipton, all of these places. And that was all new to me. So anyway, I did well when I went down there. And at 14, they offered me to sign as a schoolboy. And of course, I was only going in my school holidays. But I loved it. I loved I just loved the town. I mean, the town was far bigger than I was used to, Burnley's probably regarded as a small town, but where I came from, it was really, really small.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the football club. It was Harry Potts who signed me, right? And as a 14-year-old. And they looked after, I tell you what, they looked after my mum and dad brilliantly. We used to come down. They were invited down when I was going to sign, obviously at 14. And they stayed in this dry little hostel. And I was in the Alexander with all the other boys, right? Up Todmorden Road there. And they were pretty gutted, I have to say, because it was a dry hostel, right? And they did like a little drink, I have to say. But I was in the other one. So anyway, I loved Burnley. I didn't go to another club. I never went anywhere else. Right? So, a lot of lads go to various clubs at that age and have a little look here, a little look there. I just liked it at Burnley. And I also knew that you would get a chance if you were any good, because they were famous for that, back in the day. Bringing the scouting system and the way that they brought players through to first team. So that's what I decided to do. And I got down there, joined when I finished my O-levels at school, did those, and then I joined. So at that point, it was all in. Here we go. Well, let's hope this works,
There's something for people of Burnley. You stayed in the Alexander Hotel on Todmorden Road. That's
certainly did. We used to. Loved it there. Loved it there. It was great. I actually had. I've had a couple of weddings, but I mean, my first one was to a Burnley lass, from Padiham, and we had our reception at the Alexander after I just won the FA Cup for with Everton. So anyway, there you go.
Fantastic. And I was looking at the side, Trevor. There were some good players. Billy Hamilton and Mickey Phelan, Brian Laws, Derek Scott, who's also been on the podcast. But it was a bit of an up and down period, wasn't it? It was like in and out of the divisions. Why did it? Why did it struggle somewhat?
When I joined, Burnley had been in the third division, the old 1, 2, 3, 4, the third division for a couple of seasons, and I think there was a lot of pressure on the club because of the expectancy of the supporters, what they were used to seeing a team that performs, in the second division, and really hanging on to the old days of being in the first division. And so, and there wasn't a budget. There was no money going around. They couldn't really attract, the level of player they wanted. But the first season, when I was 16, 17, I got myself into into the first team squad for training. So, Frank Casper, it was Brian Miller was the manager then, and Frank Casper, first team coach. So anyway, I'd worked my way through to the first team. So didn't really contribute anything in the first team in the first year, and the team just got through it, still in the third division. But the second year, when I started to play, and the lads who were in the team started to sort of mature a little bit, and some good experience, like Tommy Cassidy. But Martin Dobson was my mentor really at Burnley, and he was a key element. We went to he was a sweeper, one of the original sweepers in the game for us, with Mickey Phelan and Vince Olverson. So we improved dramatically, and had a terrific season, and it was great. I mean, and I won a league title by the time I was 18, which was more than I could have hoped for. And then we went up into the second division, and it was a frustrating season because we had good performances in us, but we just couldn't string them together. And of course that showed in the performances, particularly in the cup competitions. So we had a brilliant couple of runs there, with the quarterfinals and the semi-finals of the Milk Cup, and that probably brought me through to a bit of notice of the bigger teams as well.
I remember playing Sheffield Wednesday. I think it was a 6th round of the Cup at Turf Moor.
Yeah.
And to this day, that was one of the great games. The ground was absolutely buzzing. Sheffield Wednesday brought an army of fans, and I can't remember. I think we lost, but it was an incredible day. And
I remember it, and it was. I think the crowd was 23,000. Right, that day, which was jam packed. It was. It was. I think I did. Yeah, we did lose, didn't we? We lost because that was the quarter, wasn't it? What was
6th round? I think
that was the quarterfinal of.
Yeah.
Was it
FA Cup?
Oh yeah. Right. Okay. So I mean, we were doing well. We gave the fans a bit of a run for their money there, with those. But our league form wasn't the best. I think Brian Miller as well had put faith into the lads who'd got promotion, give them a go. Again, there wasn't much money around, but we just didn't have enough quality, and got relegated. And then I had to didn't really have to make a decision about my career, because it was pretty obvious what was going to have to happen next. So I was 19, and then relegation, and then a change of plan.
Trevor, I've spoken to quite a few footy guys. I spoke to Chris Casper, son of Frank, and Lou McCarry recently, and I'm just wondering where you fit in this, because Lou McCarry said in his day players weren't really coached; they were kind of inspired and motivated, that kind of thing. How much of your development happened at Burnley? Was it quite significant? Were you coached much, or was it similar, that it was about getting the best out of you?
I thought at Burnley, I think Arthur Bellamy was instrumental in my development. Arthur was from the northeast as well, and obviously an ex-Claret. But he had a great way about him, a character and personality. He was great. He was attention to detail, and I was always into that. I was a very determined individual, whatever it was, and all I needed was a platform, and Burnley gave me that platform and some guidance, and because you're learning every day, it was literally Arthur helped me get through to that next step, and then Frank Casper and Brian Miller, gave me that opportunity. Mm-hmm. But development of players is it depends on on where you come from. Because I come from such an area which is not a lot of people around. not a lot of competitive football. But what I did actually have was not much competitive football like the guys in the city. Those were in Newcastle or Manchester or Birmingham or London. They were playing, 4 games a week, right, for their school team, their Saturday team, their Sunday team, a representative game or whatever, 4 or 5 games. I would be lucky if I played 3 games a month, right? So, and that's true, right, because there was no one to play against. And there was no league. It was 60 miles from Newcastle, it was 60 miles from Edinburgh. So there was no one to play against. So I practiced a lot, right? And when I started to get some recognition, all I did was just practice myself to death. So I refined my skills. That's all I can say, because when I noticed I was going into youth, into the county team, and then England schoolboys, I found it was intimidating for me, because I always had this sort of inferiority complex, because I come from nowhere that people will have heard of, and I've got a bit of a funny accent. I don't wear the right clothes, right? So you always sort of sit in the corner a little bit quiet. But once I got on the field, I knew that I was as good, if not better, than the majority of them, and that was because I'd honed my skills. I put a lot of hours of practicing, and that's what helped me develop and move quickly in the game. But Burnley was part of my sort of the equation of me making it to the next level.
You then went on to Everton, as most people will know, and won trophies. Well, I was looking two league championships, FA Cup, UEFA Cup Winners' Cup, and a raft of charity shields as well. I was talking to Kevin Ratcliffe about you, and Kevin said to me that if there was trouble on the pitch, the message was give the ball to Trevor. And you became known as Tricky Trevor. And he went on to say that you were probably the most technically gifted footballer he'd ever played with. And
that's nice of him to say so.
Yeah, that's a huge compliment, but I think well worthy of it. But I was just wondering what you think when somebody says somebody's technically very gifted. What does that mean to the layperson?
It means that they have control of the ball. Really, they can master the ball, and it tends to be. But that comes from me doing all those hours, right? That I had a better level of technical skills than the majority. And because when people are playing in football matches, they don't touch the ball very much. But when you train on your own, you're constantly practicing with the ball. But a technical player is, for me, it was about balance. I think I got good balance, able to move direction quickly, and that and anticipation as well as part of it. But I don't suppose that's more about the technical side. That's about reading the game. But I needed that to make the difference for me, because I'm 5'8". I was about just under 11 stone back in the day when I was playing regularly. And so there wasn't much of me, and I was never going to be physical. So my assets were different. And, people used to say that, when I started at Burnley, I was a central midfield player. But then when I went to Everton, I played more on the right-hand side. But I never really played on the right-hand side like you would imagine. I was forever coming off the flank, always coming off the flank and getting into goal-scoring positions, which allowed Gary Stevens to go down on the right-hand side, in the right back position. And so I wasn't just a winger who took people on. That wasn't really what I did. It was about first, and to me, it was about keeping the ball, always keeping the ball, never giving it away. Obviously, you need to take some risks at some point, but you've got to judge when they are, and that you've got to get that right if you possibly can. But then try and keep it. And as Kevin Ratcliffe was referring to, sometimes I would get it and just keep it for a little bit until we get a breather, but then pass it on, and so we keep the ball. But the technical players, I think personally, I would enjoy playing in the modern game as well, because there's a lot more protection now. It was quite physical back in the day, or very physical, to be honest with you. And the pitches weren't that great, so you had a lot of things to deal with, things that you don't really have to bother about today. But as long as the technical skills were right, you had something to build on, and I developed them through Burnley. I do still treat Burnley as very, very important on a crucial part of my development. It was consistent. I was there for 7 years. I was at Everton for 7 years. I was at Rangers for 7 years. I don't know what it is, but they're all stages, and the Burnley stage was obviously key and vital to what came next.
Yeah, and Everton. Wow, that was a golden era, wasn't it? Under Howard Kendall's stewardship. You must have nothing but happy memories of those times. What was the highlight, Trevor?
Yeah, it was. The highlight really was the FA Cup final and the FA Cup win the first season. My first season at Everton, I win the FA Cup. This is just, you couldn't write it. So when I left Burnley at 19, there was a lot of. I was back on the back of a relegation. So I was stepping up to the first team at Everton, and Howard Kendall had been following me. And then when John Bond came into Burnley, I went there. But the highlight was getting all the way to an FA Cup final. At a 20-year-old, I was just gone 20, and to win it. And it was brilliant for the team, but it was also great for myself, because it was a bit of a validation that you can play at this level. You can definitely play at this level, and you've got a trophy already. So it was a dream. Any schoolboy to play in an FA Cup final could be the ultimate. Or then to win it is icing on the cake. And that's what happened in the first year against Watford. That was the catalyst for the other things to come, because Everton needed to win a trophy, basically. Although regarded as a top 6 club, as they were rightfully, they were just hanging around in that 6th position, really, in truth, 6th or 7th. So they had to make a step, and that was the first one.
And tell us about Howard's leadership qualities, Trevor. What was it that made him as successful as he was in that period?
Well, I liked Howard immediately when I met him. I met him at the Tickle Trout on the M6. The day before I signed for Everton. I met him there for the very first time. A bit nerve-wracking, really, to meet him, because I could remember him as a player, as a very good player, although I never actually played against him. And he was so positive, a positive character, confident, bubbly. He looked the part as as you would expect a top team manager to come across. And what I liked about it was he explained exactly why he wanted to bring me in. And I had some questions for him, which he answered that first meeting. And I was hooked anyway. I was going to sign, even if I didn't like, I would have gone to Everton, right? But the fact that I liked him, and he helped me on that the transition period, which I found difficult.
Yeah.
But his management skills were about making everyone feel important in the squad. The squads weren't quite so big, but there's still 16, 17 players in the first team squad. And he was good at that. He did like a laugh and a joke, and he did like the old glass of wine every now and again. But that was the way it was in those days. But primarily, he was dedicated to the job and bringing success to Everton. And he had a vision of how he wanted to play. And he was able to bring that team together. And his enthusiasm and self-belief were infectious, to the group of players. And that's why we we were all prepared to go the extra mile for him, and that paid off obviously in trophies.
Why did you leave Everton, Trevor? What was the reason behind that?
Well, right in 1985, right, we just won the league and the European Cup Winners' Cup at Everton, and the Heysel disaster happened over in Belgium, with the ban of the English teams from Europe. Things started to change. Didn't feel the effects of it immediately. In '86, Everton should have won the league. When Gary Lineker was playing with us, we should have won the league. But Liverpool won it. Then we won it again in '87. But in '87, Howard Kendall left because we were playing in our own backyard. We were no longer able to play against a Bayern Munich or a Barcelona or a Real Madrid. We were not allowed to compete on the European stage. So it became, new trophies were invented, like the Simod Cup and things, and it wasn't like it was meant to be. So when it got to 1989, I'd seen the team not disintegrate, but come apart, and Howard Kendall left for Spain, and I was coming to the end of my contract, and I decided it was time to go because the ban was still on. So for 4 or 5 years, I had no European football, having just won a European trophy, which was tough, and I chose to go on to Glasgow Rangers in 1989, summer of '89. And I left really because of European football, and hence why I didn't go to another English club. But having said that, I never wanted to go to another English club because I wouldn't have wanted to play against Burnley. Right? I would never have wanted to play against Burnley. I would never want to play against Everton, and I never did. Right? So, and that was very much part of my thinking, because I could have gone to Man United, and I went to see Alex Ferguson, Sir Alex, as he is now, and I saw him on the Monday at the end of that 86, 87, no, 88, 89 season, so summer of '89. I decided to go and speak to him, but I decided not to, because when I didn't even need to leave my house. I just need to take a different road into work instead of going to Goodison Park, going into Old Trafford, and I could stay in the same house. I know European football, so I decided to go up to Rangers, which was a great experience, but I was going back north as well. I'm from the north, so it all fell into place a little bit.
Yeah. I was chatting with Andy Payton, who went to the Hoops, went to Celtic, and it's clear that playing for either of those clubs is significant. Was playing for Rangers everything you expected it to be?
Yeah, I was following a bit of a path, because a lot of the England players had gone up to Rangers. Well, primarily Graham Souness had gone up in his first managerial role, and he had some money to spend, which gave him that ability to go and get some good players, and he could take advantage of the European ban as well, because the players weren't playing in Europe, as I described. So when I went up there, it's Terry Butcher, Chris Woods, Gary Stevens, Ray Wilkins, Trevor Francis, Andy Gray was there, Ali McCoist, Ian Durant, Davy Cooper. I mean, it was like a ridiculous amount of ability in that squad. But I said I saw Alex Ferguson on the Monday. I went on the Tuesday to see Graham Souness, and they insisted that I sign. So that day, and because they really wanted me to go, and I thought, right, okay, I'm going north. My parents can come and watch me, and family can come and watch a bit more. And I've been brought up in Berwick-upon-Tweed. It's like 1 mile from Scotland, so I start to get a Scottish accent even when I say the word Scotland. It is that close to me. My middle name is McGregor, so I've got Scottish roots as well. So it all made sense to me, and I was going to European football, a team that's winning, and the challenge now is to keep on winning, and that's what I got into at Rangers, and I was used to winning, so this is what I wanted, and I played in that winning team for several years.
I was wondering what you made of the religious aspect to it, Trevor. I think it's less. It's still there, but this Protestant and the Catholics. Was that very apparent to you when you were there?
Yeah, particularly around the Old Firm games. Definitely, it was just there. But west of Scotland still has this problem that the religious side of it is important, and it's very tribal, and they hang their hats on that, gives them some identity. But as a player, I just went to play football. But when I was there, I noticed how severe it was, and I decided actually to live in Edinburgh instead of living in Glasgow, because I didn't want to be faced with difficulties just living in the city. I'm not saying that I would have done, but I just took myself out of that. And it's not great. It's not healthy. It does, as far as the game itself, the Old Firm games, it is the most vociferous, angry, kind of hate-filled environment you could play in, which is not healthy. It's not great. But as football players, you just get on with it. It's as I said, it's a West of Scotland issue, which is still there today. And I know best efforts have been made, are being made, and will continue to be made until people see sense.
I'm sure the club probably advised players to say nothing, but I guess the fans, there was an expectation that you kind of support the cause. Did you ever feel that, Trevor?
Yeah, there was definitely a feeling, of sort of clan mentality about, and we had a lot of local lads as well, who had grown up with the divide, and I just didn't understand it. I just kind of ignored it. For instance, I remember I got to the club very early part of getting to Rangers, and John Gregg, who was a sort of players liaison and with the supporters clubs, and the ex-legend that he is, John Gregg, he asked me if I would go to a supporters club after a game, and I'd only been there maybe a month. And I get there and I'm asked to sing the songs, right? I don't even know the songs. I haven't got a clue what the songs are. But I thought, I don't like that. It's not me. And I didn't want to be pushed into something which, one, I didn't believe in. It just wasn't my character and personality. So I refused, and thereafter I refused to go to supporters clubs, really, because I would be thrown into that. Each and every time I was asked, I did everything that the club would ask me to do, but that I wasn't comfortable with. So that was it, really. But it was, Rangers as a football club is absolutely huge, and it's better now. As you said, Maurice Johnson joined the club when I joined the club, and took a bit of weight off me, because he was obviously the centre of the attention. Being a Catholic signing for Rangers, so I could sort of slide on in there, the back door kind of thing. So that to me was a warning. This is what's going to come. But on the footballing side, it was brilliant. It was terrific. Brilliant playing at Ibrox every week. I mean, not so great going away to some grounds. The expectancy, though, is for Rangers teams to win, particularly in those days. And we had to. I mean, there was a crisis if you lost a game, and that was the way that the whole thing worked up there.
And after winning every trophy going, you kind of popped off to France for a little while. and
Yeah.
one more silverware. What was that a good experience being in France?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I was £5 million like in 1991. I'd been at Rangers 2 years, and I just committed to a longer term contract with Rangers, and then I was offered this deal. There was a whole saga involved in that as well. But anyway, I signed for them just before the transfer window closed in the summer of '91. But they just played. Marseille were a top team. They just played in the European Cup final and been beaten by Red Star Belgrade. Chris Waddle was playing there. Jean-Pierre Papin was playing. Manuel Amoros, Didier Deschamps. This was the team that I was going to join. And so Didier Deschamps and I played in central midfield. The experience of playing abroad was brilliant. I loved it. I lived in a place called Aix-en-Provence, just north of Marseille. Obviously with Chris Waddle playing there, and he was a star there, by the way. He was at the top of his game. And it was weird, like two sort of northeast Geordie lads, playing for Marseille, at the same time. It was all a bit strange, but it was really great. I loved it. I loved the football. We won the league. This was in the days when Arsene Wenger was at Monaco, so they were the big opposition. George Weah and people like that were playing for them. Manuel Petit, for instance. So we win the league, and the problem that we had, we didn't do well in the European Cup. We were eliminated, shouldn't have been eliminated, by Slavia Prague. We gave 2 soft goals away, 2 penalties away in the first leg, which we paid the penalty for, and we were knocked out of the cup. So anyway, in that summer, the club wanted to change what they were doing. So Jean-Pierre Papin left, I left. And I went back to Rangers, and Chris Waddle left, and he went to Sheffield Wednesday. So it was a bit sort of changing of the guard, and Marseille then went on to win the European Cup that very year that I left.
That is some. Trevor, you've had an absolutely incredible career, haven't you? I mean, and we've not even touched on the England stuff. I mean, tell me about just the pride, if nothing else, about playing for England. It must be amazing.
It really was. I played for England schoolboys, which was unbelievable. Under 15s, again coming from Berwick upon Tweed, in the middle of nowhere. I mean, the most northerly point in England, and I played for the England under 15s. I played at Wembley when I was 15 for England. All surreal, all a bit mad. I'd do that, and then I'd get back up on the train to Berwick, and then go, down the chippy with my mates. It was all a bit weird. But then, I went to the England under 18s, under 21s, played one or two games for the under 21s, but then went straight into the England full international side, and that was just like a dream come true. I was at Everton, and we played on the Saturday. It was March, I think, and 1985. I get a phone call from Howard Kendall, just after I got home, and he said to me that well done today, because we'd done well. I think we'd beaten Stoke City, I think 4-0 or something at Goodison. And he said, got some news for you. I said, yeah, because this is very unusual, by the way. Howard Kendall never rang anyone on a Saturday night. I didn't know what was going on. And he said to me, Bobby Robson is going to give you a call in 5 minutes. Honestly, my jaw dropped. And I was trying to be all cool. Oh yeah, okay, great, right, great, right. Oh man, I put the phone down, and then I was just like staring at the phone, and then Bobby Robson called, and he said, "You've been doing great. I would like you to come and join us. Brian Robson's injured himself today. Would like you to come and join up with us. Someone will pick you up, take you to the airport, and fly you across to Belfast tomorrow morning." So I was up with the Larks, car came, and I was just a complete nervous wreck getting myself to Belfast. And obviously Brian wasn't there, but Bobby Robson was there to meet me on the doorstep. I mean, this was back in the day as well, of the Troubles. And so I was kind of escorted out of the George Best Airport into a sort of bulletproof car with guys with machine guns and things. And I get to the hotel and Bobby Robson and Ray Wilkins are waiting for me. And when I think of it now, I mean, these guys are no longer with us, and it's just incredible how time moves on, and it's so sad, but they were key. They made me feel at home and comfortable immediately. I didn't expect to play in the game. I was very nervous just being in the environment of England players. To go down for your breakfast and they're like you're sitting next to Peter Shilton and Glenn Hoddles and Ray Wilkins, and just surreal. I mean, these were guys that you saw in the back of the newspaper. So I played in that first game. Bobby came to the hotel, to my hotel room in the afternoon the day before, and said he's going to play me. From the few days earlier, I wasn't even in the squad. Now I'm playing in the World Cup qualifier in Belfast, and I played. It was just the proudest moment. And we didn't play well. We won 1-0. Mark Haley scored, and we continued that roll towards Mexico '86.
Fantastic. I mean, I could talk to you for hours about football, Trevor, but Trevor, you do know how much Burnley people think of you, do you? You do know that we are so proud of what you did. We're sad that you left, but I think everybody still talks about you at Turf Moor. That your name.
Yeah, well, that's very nice. Honestly. Yeah. The thing is, I loved my time, at Burnley. I loved the town, and that's why I decided to sign for them immediately. I just loved it. When I became an apprentice and living there full time, and my digs were just behind the long side, right? The old long side terracing. So I lived in Holcombe Drive there with Mr. and Mrs. Beck and the kids. Gareth Beck and his brother, Darren, can't remember. He'll kill me. He'll have my head for that. So I just loved it, and I was settled. And I only left Burnley because I had to. And
you must
be make a step.
You must be. Well, I've yet to meet anybody that's not impressed with what Sean Dyche has done at Burnley, but you must be really delighted to see Burnley kind of now looking quite comfortable. But just a few comments on our midfielders, Trevor, as a midfielder yourself. I think we've got some underestimated midfielders in our side. I'm talking about the two central lads, Westwood and Cork, or whichever combination Sean plays. What do you make of Burnley at the minute?
Yeah. Well, I follow my teams, right? The teams that I played for, I follow them in equal measure, really, in truth. And Sean Dyche, I think he's just a brilliant guy, isn't he? No matter what, and he's just somebody that you just want to be his mate. I've spoken to Sean several times on telephones in the past, but I don't think I've actually met him. I look forward to doing that in sometime in the near future. But the team that he's put together is there is talent in it. It's not just about hard work. It's about organization. Obviously, fundamentally, it's about work ethics. But the lads do have talent as well. I like Brownhill personally, because he's gritty. I like O'Neill. I think he's got potential. I was watching him at the start of the season, and I know that Sean Dyche, believes in him 100%. It's enough. And I was just wanting more from him earlier in the season, but young players do tend to go like that. But he's come really good and strong, I think, in the last couple of months. That's a progression, and he does look as if he's going to be a really top player. I just like the way that he sets up his teams, and his recruitment has been very good. It's obviously been budget driven. The club has progressed hugely. and it's a while since I've been back. I'm quite friendly with Alistair Campbell, so you know, I enjoy watching Alistair's following the Clarets, and it's just great to see the team, you know, consistently in the Premier League. I mean, what an achievement that is. You know, it's
brilliant.
You know,
I never thought I'd see the day, Trevor. I mean, I followed Burnley all my life. I never thought I'd see the day, and now I'm living it, and it's everything I expected it to be. Trevor, it's been absolutely
yeah. Go on.
Well, as to say, it's been a real honour to be able to talk to you. You know, you're a little bit older than I am, and he was definitely one of my first footy heroes, along with Glenn Hoddle was another one. Yeah, and Alistair Campbell's been on the Godcast as well, and I've heard it, and you wouldn't recognise Gawthorpe these days. It's completely changed, although the hut is still there.
Right. Well, again, I've not been down there into the new training setup, you know, but my goodness, I can remember Gawthorpe Drive, you know, the days we used to go down there when I bought my first car and nearly hit a tree. The leaves and the ice on that piece of road. But you know, that's where I cut my teeth, you know, as a young player, and could start to believe that a career was possible when I went, you know, down there and started to you know, feel like being a professional footballer and see what it's like, and watch and see how they operate and learn and listen. And you know, it was just a great honor for me to play there, and you know, it's a happy memories.
Yeah, Trevor, thanks so much for your time, and I know I speak for all the fans that we'd love to see you at Turf Moor. Maybe at half time, come out and give us all a wave. I think you get the most incredible reception.
Yeah, well,
and we'd love to see that. So
I look forward to it. You know, I obviously it can't be this year, but maybe next season.
Yeah. Well, we send our very best wishes from Burnley. It's not changed much. The Alexandra Hotel, I think, are now flats, and Holborn Drive's still there very much. So yeah.
Excellent. Is the Cat's Whiskers? The Cat's Whiskers still there?
That's because bingo all now, Trev. It's a bingo.
Is it a big? Oh, lovely.
I'll just tell you quickly though, when Peter Crouch came briefly a few years back, you'll know the culvert, the bridge on the way up to Turf Moor. Somebody had put on a big banner, "Welcome to Burnley Crouch, mind your head," which I quite liked. Like that.
Oh yeah, man. It's to me, you know, Burnley to me felt like a metropolis, right? You know, coming from Berwick, it felt really, really big. I mean, one, there was like traffic lights. Secondly, there was a snooker hall. And, you know, and Turf Moor back in the day, goodness me, you know, sweeping the long side as an apprentice was, you know, it was character building that. And even, you know, I remember Roy, the old groundsman, Roy Oldfield, I think it was. He used to get us to dig up the pitch at the end of the season. You know, as the apprentices, we had to dig up the pitch with a spade. You know, I mean, what? And we weren't allowed to go on our holidays till we did it. So we spent 2 weeks, blisters on the hands, just digging up the 18-yard boxes.
Fabulous.
How times have changed.
Fabulous. The Burnley fans are going to love this. They really are. Trevor, thanks for your time, and we send a love from down the M65 all the way to United Arab Emirates, and thanks for coming on the Godcast.
My pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you at Turf Moor in the near future. Look forward to it.
Bye.
Cheers, and you.